Welcome to NEK VT Rocks, and my guest today is Stacy Boone, and we're going to talk about step outdoors, step outside.
Step outdoors. We're very
Step
excited to be
outdoors.
here. Thank you very much for inviting us.
What do you do?
So we are a backpacking guide company. We guide backpacking trips all over the country. We're not just a backpacking company, though. We also teach workshops and do trainings, things that make people more confident, more knowledgeable, more aware, and to enhance their skills so that when they go outside, they do it safely.
That's really cool. Where are you located?
We are now located in Derby. So we moved here back at the end of July. Now, I just want to put the caveat here. We were moving well before COVID.
Yeah.
So we didn't decide just to move back to New England because of COVID. We were already planning on coming back here. We were based in Colorado before that.
Fabulous hiking there.
Oh, great hiking.
But there's pretty good hiking here. A few weeks ago, we had Beth Barnes from the Green Mountain Club here, and some of the feedback that we've had since then is that, oh, I'd love to hike, but I don't know what to do. I don't know what to wear. I don't know, how am I going to be safe? And how am I not going to feel like a fool when everybody else can run up a mountain and I can't?
Right.
And when I heard about your group, I, of course, jumped online to see what you got, and some of the classes you offer are really interesting.
We do offer a lot of fun things, and I do want to, give a shout out to the NEK Green Mountain Club because, they're a small group and they're doing all of the right things.
Oh, they are fabulous.
They are taking people out, they're willing to take new people, and they're also offering the safe ways and the components to be able to do that. We do the same sort of thing. I mean, we really want people to take into consideration that it's walking. It is as simple as that. It is putting one foot in front of the other, right? But it does scare people. I mean, statistically, people don't go any further than a mile on a trail, and that's about 20 minutes to a half hour. 20 minutes, to a half hour. But what it is when you go out there, you want to be safe. You want to make sure that you are carrying the things that if things were to go horribly wrong, you would be just fine until somebody can come and get you. Right. And we call that the 10 essentials. And if you have the 10 essentials in your backpack and your day pack, I mean, you don't go out without that. Then you have some degree of assurance that I can manage whatever situation is coming or that could occur. So we teach first aid classes. We teach certified and non-certified classes. We teach leave no trace. And, the first principle of leave no trace is plan ahead and prepare. And that's what we want people to think about. Before they go out, what are they getting into? Do they know what they're getting into? We teach orienteering courses, and we teach the old skill where you actually have to use a map and compass. It's an amazing thing.
That's how I learned.
People will use GPS, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Except it doesn't work up here.
Well, and you have this great app that you can load on your phone, but here's the thing. If you don't know what those little squiggle lines mean, if you don't know what that blue means, then a GPS can very well just walk you off of a cliff. But you need to know what all those are because you want to know how much elevation gain do I have, how much loss do I have.
Right.
But that's part of planning ahead so you know what kind of trip you're getting into.
Yeah, and you teach courses that do that.
We do. Really so
cool.
We teach, our map and compass, our orienteering course is 6 hours. And it's pretty intensive. It's almost a bit overwhelming sometimes.
Wow.
And what we do is we set up a little Rogaine course. So Rogaine is, rugged and outdoor. It doesn't have to be rugged. It doesn't have to be an endurance event. But what we want to do is we will hand you a map, and you take your compass, and what you're trying to do is you're trying to find a set point. So you actually get to put into practice what you're learning through the workshops that we're teaching. Lots of fun.
Do you work with kids?
We do. Parameters are a little different.
Sure.
And it depends on what kind of groups they come with. You know, operating a day program is not something that is an option at this time. But if people want to come to us, we can create any programs for kids. We have taught orienteering courses to kids. We have run many little day camps where parents have come in with their kids and they kind of hang around, but we go and play with the kids all day long. But everything is going to have a little bit of an outdoor and an environmental bend to it, because we want kids to, a lot of kids don't get to play in the dirt anymore.
Right.
They don't get dirty hands. They don't know how to climb trees.
Hard to believe, isn't it?
I know. I mean, we were raised to be able to do that. We got scratched knees and it was fine, because you know what? Then we learned not to fall down the next time.
Exactly.
Right? But we design the programs based upon what groups or parents want. And then make sure that those kids are tired by the end of the day, of course, that they go home dirty. Don't bring your children if you don't want them to get dirty with me. And we're going to make sure and feed them healthy food. But we want them to go out there and play and learn and investigate and walk away with their own appreciation of what's outside to play in.
So you arrived here in July last year, sort of right at the height of the season, and yet you were sort of immediately shut down. So you must be going into spring this time, really starting from ground zero.
Yeah, so moving back to New England and moving to Vermont specifically, you know, COVID, we're like every other small business, and I'll give a shout out to every small business out there. I mean, we're being decimated, we're suffering just like anybody else. So we closed all of our courses beginning in March last year. So we ran only 2 courses at the end of the season, and that was with specific parameters.
Yeah.
So this year we have started up with taking, you know, our contracted clients that we've already had. We are offering a few courses. So we have the long trail. We're offering a 6-day long trail hike up here this year.
Overnight camping.
And overnight backpacking. So that's, and it's not an easy trail. I mean, we all know this. The long trail is not an easy trail.
I've hiked big sections of it, I agree.
It's rocky, it's rooty, and it's wet, you know. If you're wearing your tennis shoes, you're going to slide and fall somewhere.
I have the hardware in my arm to prove it's not an easy trail.
Oh my goodness, see? And accidents happen. They happen all the time.
They do.
But so we do feel like we're kind of starting from scratch again. Yeah. We have a Centennial Trail hike in South Dakota that's happening this year. It's a 2-week hike. We have an end-to-end hike, and we're doing section 1 of the Ouachita Trail in Arkansas this year. And then we're also offering an Orienteering Challenge series here. We're going to do that down in Groton State Forest. So we're offering 3 Orienteering Challenge opportunities this year, and that is based with the idea that we want people to go outside, and they don't have to be really good at this, but it's a great way to be able to learn how to use their map and compass.
That was something that was a big deal in Europe, obviously, where I grew up, and nobody seemed to even have heard of it here. And so it's so great that started, and we have such perfect terrain for it.
We do, and it's hard here.
Yeah.
You know, you have to be attentive to how far do I need to go based upon what my map is telling me, and to be able to judge that and keep a straight line.
Yeah.
I know that there's an organization here in Vermont that does offer adventure racing, and they had to cancel their offerings last year, I believe. But I mean, they still use the same general idea. You have to be able to map and compass to some point.
Right.
I think that map and compass courses give people a great deal of boost and confidence.
Yes.
And if you can manage that component, that little heightened stress level, that not being on an established trail, that translates into how you're handling things at home.
Yes.
You know, when you have more confidence in the outdoors, you become a better person, and that means at home you're giving yourself the opportunity to control the things that you can, right? I mean, that's what the backcountry is. There's certain things you can control and certain things you can't. So that translates into what you see at home. At home, I can control this, so I'm going to make good choices and decisions. I'm going to slow down for a moment. I'm going to think things out. Yeah. I can't control this, so we're going to stick it to the side, and we're going to do this instead.
Yeah. I mean, even basic stuff like which side is the sun. We don't teach kids that.
We don't. And that's part of you know, if you're looking at a map and you're trying to figure out where
Right.
you're going for any of your hikes,
Right.
you know, you're going to know that the sun is on which side of your shoulder for the day.
Yes.
And if it's not there, then maybe you're not where you're supposed to be.
If it's on the other side, there's a clue.
Right, right. Or as you're getting later in the day, that is your notice that it's getting later in the day. Have I reached my drop dead turnaround point? And have I reached almost my destination so that I know that I'm timing things out the way that I should?
How did you get your love of hiking and being outdoors?
So I do blame it on my parents.
It's all their fault, right?
Yeah, it is their fault. I hiked the Appalachian Trail as a thru hiker in 1998. My dad came out 2 weeks in to check on me because he thought that maybe I would go home, and I didn't.
Were you with a
he
group
checked.
or on your own?
I'm sorry?
Were you on your own or with a group?
I was on my own.
Yay!
Yes. And I think that everybody needs to spend a little time alone.
Yes.
He came out again 3 weeks later, and I wasn't ready to go home. And so from there, he really became one of my greatest supporters and my greatest assets for all of the long distance hikes that I've done. But I remember at one point him saying to me, I don't understand, you know, why you do this, and I don't understand why you have to do this extreme kind of long distance hiking. And I remember saying to him, but Daddy dear, that would be your fault. Don't you remember taking us hiking when we were kids? And so he did instill upon me, you know, him and my mom both, that being outside was important.
Right.
And it is it's what you did. And I'm appreciative of that.
And you managed to find yourself people to put in your life who have similar addictions.
Oh, exactly. I mean, I have some great mentors that everybody should have a mentor. I don't care how old you are, you should have a mentor. And I have great backpacking and outdoor mentors. I have great professional mentors that help guide me along the way. And that helps us be better people. It helps us be more balanced and making the best choices that we can for the environment and for ourselves.
How did you transition from, I really love this sport because it is a sport, I can do all these incredible hikes, I want to inspire other people to do this, and I want to earn my living this way. How did you manage to make those transitions?
So first off, you don't make a lot of money this way. You do it because you love it.
But you're alive.
I am, yeah. And I can tell you exactly kind of when this happened. I lived over in Twin Mountain, New Hampshire, for about 10 years. And I was the recreation director for the town of Whitefield while I was there. I created a 4,000-footer club. And we had local people that would come in, and so we were hiking every weekend just as a way to introduce people to the outdoors.
Sure.
And so I did it as a part of working for that organization. And I had a gal with me, and she was a breast cancer survivor. She had lived in that area her entire life.
Yeah.
And we were hiking up in the Presidentials. We had planned our routes for the day, and we got up to the top of our second peak, and she says, let me see the map. And I said, okay. So I handed her the map, and she sits down and she looks at the map, and you can see her kind of calculating and measuring things out, and she brings it back to me, and she says, if we would go this route, and it's however many more miles, and take this side trail down instead of the trail that we came up, and we would backtrack on the Forest Service Road back to the trailhead, we could add one more peak. We have enough time. There's plenty of daylight still. She had looked at all of the components and the variables that I felt like that we were teaching, but not in your face. You know, very much of teachable moments. Let's learn skills as time passes. And I said, okay. That's what we'll do. And we went down, and we got back well before sunset. And I went home that evening, and I looked at my husband. I said, we need to open a company for women. And it's not that we don't love the guys out there, but we need to open a company for women. And what we want to do is we want to create a place where women can ask any question they want.
Sure.
They can feel safe in the environment to be able to do that. We knew we couldn't do it in this landscape initially, and there's too much competition. There's big companies, and then that's, you know, when the market crashed, we left and went to Colorado, and then we started the company in Colorado. We have since brought men into the organization, and we have taught them as well. And what we learned for that was that we had gentlemen who were maybe Boy Scouts as kids, got out of it for a while, and they wanted to affirm for themselves that they still remembered the skills. Or maybe they hadn't spent much time out. So we were seeing the same things in the guys, only we were seeing a little older population of the men coming in as what we were seeing from the women. But it's interesting because what I noticed is that if I had some groups of males and females, and I do have that now and again, that the women will still look at the guy for the answer.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm the instructor here. You can look at me. But because they don't always know. Well, the women don't always know.
Right.
So let's balance the playing field. We're all here to learn and to gain skills. But I give Jody that credit. It was Jody who went up the mountain with me that day, and we had been doing quite a few hikes together. She got to explore an area that she hadn't been in, and she was learning, really and truly learning the skills to go out there. And I thought it was very important to start imparting this opportunity to other people.
Yeah.
That's really great. And I assume your partner, your husband, is also a hiker.
He is a Triple Crowner as well. So he hiked the Appalachian Trail in 1999, and then he followed with the Pacific Crest Trail and the Continental Divide Trail after that. So he was a Triple Crowner a year before I was. He was very much involved in the company in the earliest days, and then he took a break for a while and went and worked for the Forest Service, and now he's back working with me a little bit. He doesn't do as much hands-on training. He does more of the behind-the-scenes part. But women love him. The guys love him. They want to talk to him. They want to hear his stories and his experiences. And I think that's a great way to be able to instill that wanting to go outside feeling.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you still going to work with groups of women? Because I agree with you. I think that's a really important place.
I do. There are certain trips that I want to have that are women only trips. And only because I think the dynamic is very, very different.
Yes.
I'm not offering it this year, but in the past I've offered and we called it the Wild Side, and the working title of it was What Your Husband Says He's Doing When He's Out Hunting. But it was a basic hunting class for women, and we did everything from field dressing to, we had this really fun 5-course paired dinner in the evening with wild game and wine.
Cool.
But more importantly, that was a great way for women to try things that they hadn't done before. I mean, if they've never field dressed a deer, this is a great way to put a knife in your hand and let's learn how to do it, and let's learn how to do it right. Or to give them as much time as they needed to follow a blood trail. So we want to keep those definitely as women-only opportunities. And then we will continue to offer classes, even long-distance trips that are women-only classes, as it's appropriate.
Yeah. Have you had contact with Doe Camp? You know what that is up here?
Yeah, the Bow, Becoming an Outdoors Woman.
Yeah.
I have. I've contacted them a couple of times here. They also, like so many of us with COVID, they closed their courses out. And I know there's a similar style program for kids down in Groton State Forest this year. So I've offered, and at some point if they need another instructor, I'm willing to jump in and fill whatever needs they have.
Yeah. I was thinking it would be a good group to contact, because the more networking that you guys can do, the better. 'Cause part of the challenge up here is, how do you even make contact with others to let them know what you've got?
Right.
I found you by accident.
Right, and that's going to be the challenge that we continue to have. And part of, we were talking about this off camera, is that social media is doing its own little thing right now. A lot of people are jumping off because they're tired of it. And so many businesses have moved out of television and out of radio and out of those kind of traditional marketing formats, that there is something to be said for collaboration. When organizations and groups want to work together, Are we not serving the same goals and the same intentions? And I think that when more people work together, more organizations work together, we actually all do better in the long run. When you can increase your membership rolls, then that means that, you know, for instance, if you're increasing your membership roll, then maybe you have more people that are going to participate in your trail projects.
Right.
And there's nothing like putting a group of women together for a trail project, and it's all women, and you let them start swinging pickaxes and playing with the McLeods and digging big holes in the dirt. I mean, that is empowering. That is wonderful. But to go back to that, is people working together only betters the groups of people that are coming to you that are your demographic base. That is increasing the knowledge and the skill set for what we're going to see that are helping to support our public land system. Those will be the people that are passing that information along. So, I mean, we've seen this for a few years. There is a group, an age group of women and men who have raised children who don't spend any time outside.
Right.
You know, those kids don't spend time outside. But who are taking those kids outside? It's going to be the grandmas and the grandpas. That's who's taking kids outside.
Right.
Well, if they have the most free time and they're what's doing that, then don't we want to enlist those people to continue to work with our kids? Don't we want to give them those opportunities?
And don't most of us over 50 want to be active?
Exactly.
Why would we live up here if we weren't active?
Right. I mean, we don't want to sit in our house. You know, we definitely don't want to sit in a house where the temperature is too high and the radio or the television is too loud. We want to go outside and play.
Right.
And, you know, play for us can still be taking the littles out. You know, because what do we get to do? Well, we take the littles out and we're flipping over rocks and we're looking for salamanders and frogs.
Exactly.
You know, why do we not want little kids to do that? Isn't that a great excuse for us to get to go play?
Right.
You know, I was down in Brighton State Park a couple of weeks ago and followed a otter trail.
Yeah.
You know, why do we not want to explore that with littles? You know, or with people that have never done it before. I mean,
find fossils.
Yeah. I mean, how much fun is that? Or even just learning the trees or listening to the birds. I mean, you don't have to be actively and constantly moving. You know, we all need to spend time outside.
Right.
And I'm not saying you have to go out and hike 5 miles, 10 miles, or 15 miles. You need to go outside and try to walk a little further today than you walked yesterday. That's what makes you strong.
And you might find something wonderful out there as well, like a pool to go in that nobody else is in.
Right. Or do a little journaling, do some sound mapping.
Yeah.
You know, do the things that give you inspiration, that give you opportunity to be more fulfilled. That's what you get to do.
And it's peaceful.
It's peaceful. Yeah. I mean, the Vermont State Forest do not offer or do not require you to pay an entrance fee in the winter, which means that every single one of us should be buying a state park pass. It's $30 an individual. There's nothing expensive about that. But if you're going out there at all in the winter, didn't you pay for it? But there's not that many people out there in the winter. So can you go out and start tracking where the animals have been, try to figure out what animals they are, walk along on the lakes? There's so much to do and see.
I agree.
Totally. Go find what you don't think anybody else has seen before.
You're going to connect with the rec departments of some of our towns up here.
You know, Newport has a fabulous recreation department. I'm really thrilled, and I've actually been down the tubing hill as well this year. And I screamed like a little girl, and my husband made fun of me for doing that, but it was very icy on that day.
And he felt deprived because he didn't do it.
Oh, no, he totally did it. And he wanted to do it more, and I was like, we need to go home, you know. So Newport has a fabulous recreation department, and I'm kind of trying to see what it is that they're doing, because there are some things that I would like to be able to offer, and I would like to offer it as a collaboration or as an independent, whatever they want. But I really need to get more under my belt of what's being made available. Because I don't want to step on any toes.
No, of course not. But everybody has got so much to offer, and no one group can do it. There's also Vermont Land Trust because of Bluff Farm.
Yes.
And
I haven't been there yet.
If you haven't, it's fabulous.
And they have a new board. They're building the boardwalk now, right?
They are.
Yeah.
They are. And there's so much potential with the land that's there for both walking and exploring, and there's all kinds of things there.
Yeah.
That's really worth checking.
Yeah, and I'll definitely have to look
Connecting.
at them a little bit more. I've been participating in some of their online workshops,
Yeah,
which is a great way for people to learn right now.
absolutely.
If you can't go out and do it. But I think those are collaborative efforts that are very, very meaningful. One of the things that we did this year, and it was just it started out as a joke, is I got up one morning and I was like, I'm going to go build a labyrinth in the yard.
Oh, fabulous.
And I was just like, I had no idea. I've never built a labyrinth in the yard before.
You walked
And I
one.
didn't know exactly how far I was going to go. What I can tell you is, like, at the hour and a half mark, I was yelling because I needed a snack.
Yeah,
And then you can't just, like, walk out. You have to
No.
follow your way all the way back around. Ultimately, I created a 1.48 mile, because I was a little short, labyrinth in the yard. But those are things that you can do in other places. Like, why can't we work with groups and organizations and say, you have a big plot of land, let's go build a labyrinth on
we
it.
used to have one here.
Really?
And the person who built it unfortunately went back to college and is down in North Carolina now.
Uh-huh.
But that was on the Derby Road.
Oh,
It was fabulous, and she used to have solstice parties there.
that would
It
be
was
fun.
so neat.
See, and that's just a great, I mean, you have to maintain it, and it may
Yes.
only last 2 weeks, but to be able to do something like that where you have a big plot that more people could come to.
Hers lasted a long time. She kept it, maintained it, and we all walked it. It was lovely.
Oh, that's wonderful. See, that's what we need.
Yeah.
It's just small things like that, because at the end, what you do is you get to have s'mores and hot
Right.
cocoa, and
Yes.
that's the fun part. And you can make shorter versions for the littles.
Yeah, except they can usually outwalk most of the adults.
Yeah, they can.
Because they really get into it.
They do. They
Yeah,
do.
she used to do one that was sort of in daylight, and then there was one at night where it was sort of lit with candles. It was
Mhm.
gorgeous.
Yeah. I mean, it's just taking a corn maze that you do in the fall, and
Yeah.
you're doing it in the snow in the winter.
Right.
It's just a fun way to be outside. The hardest part is setting the trail
Yes.
the first time. I mean, I waited until we had all that snow, so we actually had 2 feet on the ground. You know, I could have done it when it was a little easier.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet Men from Magog ski touring group would be really interested in that.
Yeah, because they've.
We have so many resources up here, and it's so hard to get everybody aware of them.
Right.
Because there's just so much there. I mean, I'm only scratching the surface, and I'm looking for them.
Yeah, it's almost like we need to have a guide of just outdoor. It's a cheat sheet of
Yes.
outdoor opportunities and organizations that you can work
Right.
with. Because I remember coming here and doing as much Googling as I can to find things. And things that I found before we got here, I've not been able to find since I've been here. But so that people know that these resources are available to them.
Yes.
You know, if you have this beautiful system of mountain bike trails, you know, to which we have lots, but we have local, that, you know, what does it take to be able to go out there and explore? You know, what is the membership? You know, what are opportunities for individuals? And again, we're dealing with COVID times, and so what we did 3 years ago is not what we're doing now. But to be able to say, well, this is how you can meet like-minded people, or you've not done this before,
Right.
this is when we're having first-timer opportunities.
Right. I mean, one of the things that's really important about some of the hiking clubs is the social component. It's great to have some skills, though, to go into that.
Right.
So, I mean, your group sort of really fits in with teaching those skills, the confidence builders,
Right.
to then make it possible to go do the rest and feel good about it.
Right. And there's a lot of people that don't want to work with first timers, and I get it. You know,
Right.
because you want to go out and do your own thing, and you want to find like-minded people so that you can go do your
Right.
thing. But Step Outdoors wants to provide that supportive environment. You know, we want you to know that it doesn't matter what your speed is, you know, really and truly what your endurance is. I mean, we're going to say there are certain things that, I'm sorry, you may not be able to do this. but we want you to be able to want to do it. And we want to give you the opportunity to do that so that you can continue to build strength and knowledge to go out there anytime that you want. I mean, we have a rule, and it's a spoken rule that a lot of us don't follow, that says, well, you don't hike alone. Well, if the only reason why you're staying home is because nobody will go with you, then you need to change some of your practices. And your practices are that you go only where you say that you were going to go to, and you tell somebody when you're going to be back. Now, here's the step that most people forget. I tell you that I'm going to be back at 5 o'clock. Well, if I'm not back at 5 o'clock, what are you doing? And that's the next step there is, you may say, well, I'm going to give you an hour window, and then after that, then I'm going to start calling somebody. But you have to make those plans and those strategies. But in order to meet more like-minded people, so that you can hike with them, have that social component. I mean, I think if there's nothing else that we've learned in this past year, it is that we're all missing some of the social component. Even as an introvert, I am to the point where I'm like, okay, I need some people time. And I definitely need to send my husband out for some people time right about now.
Exactly.
And I don't care. These boys can be walking around the parking lot with their Dunkin' Donuts coffee in their hand, but they need to go do something as well.
Exactly.
But if the reason why you're not going is because you're hiking alone, then change a few things. If the reason why you're not going with other people is because you don't have the endurance yet, go start building some endurance. So now that you can get in on those moderate trips or those easier trips with the organizations that are offering them available.
We are out of time. This flew.
Already?
I know.
That was so fast.
Exactly. And it's fun.
It is fun. Thank you so much.
What we can say is we'll do it again.
I would love to.
Sort of in another few months when you've got more things off the ground and we're through the rest of this COVID drama. And we're able to be social and we can be active now. But then we can be social too. So thank you so much for coming in.
Well, thank you so much for the invite. This was a lot of fun.
I know. We'll do it again. Okay.